This place used to be alive. Now nobody's here.
It was dying along with Gmod, but it just wasn't so replayable as SL.
There was a backdoor in the original version that allowed the dev to inject LUA code
SCP has been around for a long time, and where there's a community, there's games. A lot of people tried to make their own SCP games. Some made it big, most didn't. Gmod Breach was one of those that almost made it. Imagine SCP Secret Lab. Now strip away everything that gives it its charm. No dynamic map, no polish, and not nearly as many players. That's Gmod Breach. It started the way most Gmod stuff does. Someone thought the existing game modes weren't good enough, so they made their own. Back in 2014, one player decided to change that.
I played SCPCB a lot, and was making game modes for my friends to play with.
Maya was just an ordinary Gmod player, who also played a lot of SCP Containment Breach. She believed that the current game modes in Gmod were nothing special, so she decided to change that.
I was very into Gmod since 2014. After a while of playing it, I started making game modes, because some weren't good enough to play with friends. Like a Battle Royale game mode was bad, so I made my own one, called Last Stand.
Around 2014, she released a game mode called Breach, mainly for her and her friends to play together. But it wasn't just her and her friends for long. This included little baby me. At the ripe age of 7 years old, I played this mode and kept crying because I was bullied. And I wasn't alone, because this little game mode, made by one person, would evolve into something more. People kept coming back and playing. And because of this, the game mode got its own little community. Well, more like 3 communities. Because this wasn't just a popular game mode on the English-speaking side. Russian and Polish players would also host their own servers. And the game mode blew up relative to what was meant only for a few people. It reached across 20 servers. But things weren't going to stay as perfect as they seem, as something was a little bit off with the game mode's code.
wanting to know, there was a backdoor in the original version that allowed the dev to inject LUA code into any server running his mod. This version doesn't have that.
A simple backdoor. A simple backdoor that would allow a person named kanade to get admin on any server via their Steam ID. Yeah, he used his Steam ID. kanade had access to all servers running the game mode, and when the community found out about it, they were mad.
Right. The backdoor was simply done like this.
Because a
The
backdoor
creator would use the help command.
The other one was
It's a good thing I never got
He
re-uploaded it because it had a
It was
backdoor.
discovered nice backdoor made his Steam ID, which is already fishy enough. I guess he wasn't expecting it to get discovered like it did.
The original was removed from the workshop for having the backdoor, so the community decided to remake the game mode. They removed the backdoor and uploaded a community version. kanade realized this and decided to re-upload a new version without the backdoor.
My old nickname was Kanade. I did put a backdoor in the past. It was very stupid.
And to add the cherry on top, Maya left in 2018. Meanwhile, the community didn't feel the impact and moved on. But the momentum would not stay forever, because just a year later, in 2019, people could see signs of the English community slowly fading away. One of the last standing groups holding the English community together was DFL Clan. Founded in 2017, it was the biggest group hosting and playing Gmod Breach. It managed to reach up to 480 members. But sadly, as of early 2020, their servers closed down, closing the doors for the English side. Though the game mode didn't die everywhere. At the start of the video, I mentioned 3 communities. While the English side was dying, the Russian and Polish sides were thriving. The Polish side stayed loyal to the original Breach, Only a few attempts were made to try launching newer versions, like the Nexus project, but that ultimately failed after a short period of inactivity. Older servers like Madland running the original Breach would stay active for a longer time. Though, while the Polish side stayed on their old Breach, the Russians decided to move on. A Russian project called NextON launched in 2020, containing custom stuff such as reworked mechanics and a fresh take on the game mode. These servers were named No Breaches, and the Russians loved it. The biggest Russian community running the No Breach was RxSend. It was created by a user named Yurak and later led by Shaggy. Meanwhile, somewhere at the end of 2024 or at the start of 2025, the community closed due to inactivity. But people still wanted something, which spawned many spin-offs. Communities like OGRX, Rain Rattle, Legacy Breach, and Destruction Protocol all failed. Yep, just like that. These communities would be pushed into the darkness, but somewhere in the distance, a light could be seen. You said that the game mode was divided up in Russian, Polish, and English-speaking servers.
There were many different servers. Polish, English, or Russian weren't really any others. People were quite loyal to their servers, not switching to other ones. There were a few different Polish ones, many English ones, and a few Russian. In the recent years, there's mostly been Chinese servers.
Now, I don't speak Chinese, so this is what I could piece together as an English speaker. The Chinese servers run a translated and possibly even a modded version of RX Breach. The Chinese side also has VIP servers and normal free servers. I managed to find one of the free servers and join it, and immediately got bombarded with the Chinese firewall. Once I managed to enter, I was then repeatedly killed. So I tried speaking English to some of the players. Hello, my Chinese friend.
老大是外国人。
Can you speak Chinese?
They looked pretty confused. From what I can see, there's more than one game mode. My best estimate is that these servers started to pop up after 2019. That's all I know about the Chinese side. If you know more, please leave a comment below explaining more. Later in 2025, Maya decided to return. She remade the original Breach from scratch, though this time with new content such as NPCs, which is a major addition for solo playing, but she said she doesn't have any plans for the future. Anyways, so where's the community at? Well, I have a simple answer: surviving. The Chinese side seems to be thriving with its own projects and servers, while the Russian side seems to be rebuilding their community. And the English side is on its knees, barely hanging on. And the Polish side, well, I don't fully know, so I suspect they are also surviving in their own way. But while some communities are dying, some are rebuilding. A user named Kutarum, whom I interviewed from the Russian side, and who is also a developer for the projects like Lost Control, Crime Valley, and SCP Failed Protocol, said they are working on their own project.
By the way, if you are interested, currently I am working on my own version of Breach made from scratch, with custom maps, mechanics, models, and so on. After finishing it, I plan to release it on Workshop.
You mentioned you're making your own version of Breach from scratch. What made you want to build a new one instead of just running an existing version?
Because original version is very bad at code actually. I originally started with modifying Danx's Lost Control, but after realizing how much I need to change, I decided to start from 0 point.
I find this community interesting, starting from nothing to a whole decade worth of history, and somehow it keeps on dying but reviving somewhere else. It's crazy that the internet can make all of this happen in the first place, and all of this can happen without you ever knowing. Maybe let that linger on your brain for a bit. If there's anything I missed out on that I didn't explain or tell, then please leave a comment. Other than that, remember to have a great day. And I guess go play the game mode and not Roblox.